Good morning, everyone. Oh, good. I was going to have you stand up, shake, but you'll probably do that after my presentation. It's great to be in sunny Cleveland, and it's great to be here at Cleveland State University. We're just arriving yesterday afternoon with a wonderful dinner with your dean and faculty and a breakfast with your faculty, and being able to talk to many of you in the audience already. I have learned, I've been learning so much. So I would say that Cleveland State University is already in great shape. You're just so well positioned. But I'm with Eric in saying that you're doing so much, but you don't want it to be the best kept secret, okay? And how do you make those connections? How do we speak the language and connect with the communities, connect with each other, so that you could just bring us to a whole new level. I want to say that don't take notes. I want you to just kind of sit back and just kind of listen for, is there one thread? Is there something that's useful from this presentation that I can take back with me? You have a handout there, and if you need to, refer back to it, I think pretty much what I'm saying is going to be encapsulated in that handout, and I will refer to it as we are, as I'm going through the presentation. But I just want you to, this is not, well, is this an academic exercise? I hope it's more than an academic exercise. So, so with that, I'd like to first acknowledge that I'm very much a collaborative learner in my research and professional practice. I really like working with people. And our research team, which I'm realizing that there's so many connections to your faculty here already, my colleagues Joanne Montepar, Susan Cross-Whitbourne, and Lauren Marshall, we have been meeting together weekly, and actually this is probably a positive thing after COVID, since 2018. So 2018 we were meeting in person. After COVID we've been meeting virtually. We have been able to maintain a weekly meeting, an hour-and-a-half meeting every Thursday morning, where we have been really, now I guess the word would be stackable, because we have been starting with this concept and we have been building on it through our research, as I said, since 2018. Now, at that time, I was still full professor at UMass Boston. In 2023, I became an emeritus professor at UMass Boston. But I think we're kind of breaking ground. We're a new territory here in terms of how do you relate to emeriti faculty. I don't think that the university really realizes that, I brought in 2 grants, since 2 or 3 grants actually, since I formally retired from the university. And they had no problems, allowing me to do that through our Gerontology Institute, our research arm. I've also been able to support, graduate students that way. And, I thought, well, gee, is IRB going to have, Institutional Review Board, will they have a problem with my submitting as an emeritus professor? And somehow, maybe they just don't maybe the policy isn't in there that I can't do it. But I mean, somehow it hasn't caught up with them that an emeritus professor, and I'm very upfront about that, is submitted for research. And actually, our law professor over here, you'll have to check and see, is that technically allowed? But please don't let UMass Boston know that. So the other thing, so I am now emeritus. Joanne Montepar, a psychologist from LaSalle University. And LaSalle University, if you haven't heard, how many people have heard of LaSalle University? LaSalle Village. LaSalle Village is housing that's on the campus of LaSalle University. It's in Newton, Massachusetts. They had to go through their zoning when it was established to say that as a criteria for living in this housing, you have to be connected with the university. You have to do some, and it's actually, I believe it's a continuing care retirement community, that there is skilled nursing as well on there. So even, I mean, it's like they find ways that whether or not you are volunteering, you're taking for credit, you're incorporated in the curriculum. I know that there was a forensic psychologist who would have older adults do the scenarios, present the scenarios to the students for them, and they really love being part of that, whether or not you're mentoring or tutoring and stuff. So anyway, it's a really neat model. That's not what I'm talking about today, but it's just so cool that you should be aware of that. The other thing, actually, so Aaron Geist, who's now the Secretariat for the Age-Friendly University Global Network, he's at the University of Arizona. Arizona State? Arizona State, okay, University. And on their campus, they have Marabella, which is also a housing for older adults that are also integrated to their university life and everything. So those are, and actually, being a graduate student in the 1970s, the big deal then was Syracuse University had a dormitory, a tower, where they had older adults and intergenerational people, students and older adults living together at that point. I don't think that survived. But I mean, it's like people have been thinking about this. It's a good idea, but it really needs to be able to take off more. The other thing, so Susan Kraus-Whitbourne, Susan, like anything else, even if you're in the same neighborhood, you, even in the same university, well, actually, she was at UMass Amherst, I was at UMass Boston. It was at a gerontology meeting where I connected with her, and she said she's retiring from UMass Amherst, but she wants to continue teaching or continue to be involved. And so now she's been teaching since 2018 at UMass Boston a mental health and aging class, and they're thrilled to have her. So Susan Kraus-Whitbourne, and then Lauren Marshall-Bowen. She is an English professor, and this is what I love. She is the only one now who's full-time at the university. But she is an English professor, and it is fabulous that we have this psychologist, the English professor, myself as a gerontologist with a degree in social welfare policy, specialization in aging, and these conversations we have on a weekly basis are terrific. So nothing really has happened that I'm going to share with you today that hasn't been out of this collaborative spirit. I want to give special thanks to Professor Eric Allard and Mary Milidonis for providing specific data to Cleveland State University. If it's incorrect, it's not my fault. That's what they passed on to me. Okay, but it was great because whatever I say, I want you to be able to connect here. Okay, how does this relate to you? And then, of course, it's even though there are funders listed, and we've been fortunate through RRF Foundation for Aging, which is formerly had been the Retirement Research Foundation, and most recently now Next 50 Foundation, which is out of Colorado, that is funding our current research. But it's not about having funding. I mean, you have an idea, incorporate it in your class, have your students involved in it, give an independent study to a graduate student, get those ideas going, continue your conversations. The funding, do pilots, take advantage of seed funding from your institution. Your deans who are in the audience, certainly I believe would support you in that. Try to be interdisciplinary, but get those ideas going. I let Dean Brooks know last night that I refer to this as my Tom Sawyer approach. I'm having a good time, come join me, and it's amazing. That's how I got, Susan Kraus-Whitbourne was just passing I always I had left my office door open, ajar. She passed by, I brought her in, and she said, sure, that she'll be involved with me. So it's like, how do you get those conversations going? All right, so first, I want to have Laura and Eric and Mary, and I don't know if Wynn is here in the audience, the 4 co-champions for getting this movement going. I want you to stand up. I want people to see who you are, and let's congratulate you again. So these are the people that you connect with after this meeting and say, hey, I want to be involved with this. So, I'm talking to you ultimately about culture change in higher education, okay? Culture change in higher education. Higher education wasn't designed for longevity, but we contend that longevity is actually transforming higher education. It's happening. It is here. It's already. You don't have to look for it. It is here. My colleague Joanne and I, we were asked by the TIA Foundation to work with them on a report, Learners for Life, the Future of Higher Education in the Era of Longevity. And we worked with them. This report was issued by them in December of 2025. And it really just, it points to, it's more, when we think about the motivations for, yes, there's the joy of learning, but then there's also the expressive needs, but there's also the instrumental skill and knowledge building that we know are motivations for returning back to a campus. And they couldn't be more truer than ever as they are today. And I'm going to talk to you about what I liked about working with others on that report is that they use the term touch points. And I'm going to talk to you about touch points as to, why should a university really care? And I'd also say to you, it's like, okay, you got your designation, so now what? Now what? All right, so I want to be able to answer that. At the same time, it's like other people across the world are thinking about this as well. And, lo and behold, UNESCO, came out, lifelong learning and imperative for higher education. And because of our involvement with intergenerational and with age inclusivity and everything, we did get contacted by, I knew this was going to happen. So UNESCO reached out to us to work with them on one report already, which had to do with their community learning centers in 5 different countries and everything. But now they're also talking about doing an evaluation of these learning centers that they're developing in Africa. We're still working with them in communication. So people are thinking about this. A lot of this is obvious. Why now? Our population is older and more age diverse than ever. In fact, and I'm going to read this, I wanted to make sure that I get this statistic correct. 2 out of every 5 college students are older than age 22, which is about 40%. Close to 70% of college students have full-time or part-time jobs while enrolled in courses. That's an increase from 60% in 2016. And many are enrolled part-time, and 19% have children. That's from a report. That's from a report, the New Majority Learner Report 2025 by Tucker, Goodwin, and Alexander. So, those are facts. Those are data. You heard mention of the enrollment cliff, and I think it's certainly many of us think it could be an economic lift. And it's, aging is good business, and administrators should really be thinking about this. There has been a 13% decrease of traditional age college population, and by traditional age, I would say 18 to 22. By 2041, there will be a 13% decrease in those traditional age students. And I'd like you to be thinking about, are we still just, focusing, recruiting, promoting education for that 18 to 22-year-old, okay? Recognizing that there are people throughout their lifespan who will be interested in, or they might not even recognize it, but we should recognize it and make them see those connections are that, yes, you belong here. Yes, we welcome you. So lifelong learners, and again, when we started our work, people would say, oh, well, we have a Lifelong Learning Institute. You're talking about, we have that, we have the, Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. We have that and everything. So you're talking about those people. Or you want to talk to the people in gerontology. Or you want to, no. We're talking about the entire university. And it's not just about the joy of learning, but as I said, it's both professional and personal development, okay? Now, faculty and staff, lo and behold, are aging in place on their campuses. I like to refer this as to a naturally occurring aging in place working environment. Your faculty and staff are aging in place. How well does this campus environment, university environment, work for them? And ageism continues to be pervasive and persuasive as well, but it is pervasive, and it's that that internalized ageism as well as the ageism that people experience or observe, and that it's accepted, like, greeting cards. It's accepted to see that ageist language in greeting cards, or every other place where people think it's just okay. I can remember in the area of transportation when I first heard from a law enforcement official who referred to Q-tips. So what are Q-tips? Q-tips are gray heads, sitting too low in their seat, driving. So, I mean, it's like, hey, ha, ha, ha. This is not funny, but this is, like, prevalent. And we contend that age inclusivity really does benefit everyone. So I talked about touch points. Now, we think in terms of students, and there's several touch points. You definitely, I heard you've got already some, like, great work going on in terms of people, not only people entering, but re-entering the workforce. Gating training or certifications needed for new types of work. Why are people coming to campus? What are they looking for? Clearly adapting to new technologies, including AI, pivoting from one career to another. So we think in terms of second careers. I would say we even think in terms of third careers. So, so I'll give you a personal example. My husband, married to a gerontologist, is now on his third career. He, PhD in environmental engineering, was working in corporate consulting. In 2004, I had a sabbatical with National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and I combined it with the Alzheimer's Association Public Policy Division in DC. He at that time got an AAS, whatever that science fellowship is, AAAS, could it be, maybe? Fellowship, and he was with the EPA for 2 years. And then he just didn't want to return back to what he was the corporate world. I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, I'd really like to teach high school. I said, go for it. So he had then taught high school for chemistry and environmental science for 15 years, then retired for 1 year, couldn't stand it, and he is now teaching chemistry at a community college. So, yeah, and chronologically, Irwin is 77. So, and he absolutely, he loves it. So I'm just saying, it's like, that's how I would suggest that this is a healthy way of being able to think about it. I also have coined the term preferment. I'm not in retirement, I am in preferment. I pick and choose what I prefer to do. As an academic, it's a privilege that, I'm able to do that. But I think it's, it's fine. It's like, it's none of this, like, are you still driving? Are you still working? Are you, it's like how we speak, how we communicate. Retiring from full-time employment to self-employment or a new career. Maintaining active campus relationships as alumni. This is all still just talking about students. But I want to suggest to you that there are touch points relative to faculty and also to staff. And yes, faculty and staff find themselves re-entering, academia or professional roles, pursuing advanced credentialing, the same kind of things. But also the idea of evolving career roles or pivoting across campus roles. How well do we enable that, facilitate that for our staff? Flexible workloads in light of life transitions, and I think this applies both to students but also to faculty and staff. And retiring, but continue, my example, into continued professional engagement. Now, there was a policy on campus that I only learned about from word of mouth from another faculty member. Very few people took advantage of it. I did a 2-year phased retirement, okay, which meant that my teaching load was reduced, but my pension wasn't. That it was like based. I made sure that was protected as a state, and it really It was good. It actually happened to have coincided with COVID and also some, well, not only caregiving responsibilities, but I will also let you know personally, cancer. But it wasn't because of the chemo and stuff like that. I had made this decision before. Anyway, so how many people know about, is there a phased retirement option on this campus? Yes? How many people know about that? Okay, you see? All right, so that's, point in fact. And then continued engagement on campus after retiring. You should watch me on time, okay? So, all right. The continued engagement on campus after retiring. So there is a international maritime network, and it's out of the convener is out of Slovenia. And these quarterly meetings have been incredibly enlightening to me, and they also involved a lot of people from the retirement associations and from the United States, actually, well, in any event. So the big hot issue with them has to do with retaining email accounts. And on many different campuses, there are just different levels of whether you're a maritime, retired, staff, and what level, whether or not you're able to retain an account. Now, I thought that the universities would definitely keep all email accounts because they want your donations and everything. But apparently that's not the case. Or the IT support or access to, there's a colleague in Australia who said he would like access to bibliographic databases. He can't get that, So, gosh, and then I started learning, so I'm saying it's a big hot issue among retirement association, well, at least among this network, about what this looks like. Apparently in Europe it's a lot worse. We're pretty good in the United States in the most cases, and in Canada they're pretty good. But it's definitely something to look into. Okay, so this just is one snapshot of where we're at in terms, and you might not be able, don't worry about seeing the numbers, but if you look at the royal blue and the darker color on top, so the royal blue is the 20 to 34-year-old, and the other one is, the higher one is 35 years and older. And the first bar in each case is one is full-time, and then the other is graduate. In the first case, it's undergraduate and graduate, then full-time and part-time, then full-time and part-time among graduates and then undergraduates. The larger thing that you're taking away from here is that you're seeing these darker bars are getting bigger, right? And where are they bigger? So it's just recognizing like who's on your campus now. So this is from census data, 2022 October enrollment tables for from the census. So it's like there are still people who are thinking in terms of the newly minted high school graduate going off to college. And I'm saying that to you that no, we need to change that mindset. So I have a question for you. And the question is, thinking about your campus community, faculty, staff, and students here at Cleveland State University, how many people do you think are age 55 and older? Show of hands? Take a guess. In this case, there are wrong answers, but take a guess. Oh, anyone? Come on. Yes? 32%. Well, 32. Well, give me a number. I don't have it in terms of, give me an actual number, a frequency. 50. How many? 50. Just 50 individuals? No. 50. Okay. Anyone? I would say it is higher than that. Anybody? Anyone else? 120. Another number? 200. Yes. Okay, we're closer. As of spring 2026, the current semester, 1,236 individuals in this campus community are age 55 or older. So how does that break down? And this is where Eric was very helpful with these data, and I thank whomever you got it from. So 1,163 are age 55 and older, and then you add the 73 who are currently enrolled in Project 60, okay? So that's that. But then when we look at staff, and here's where the percentages would help, 34% of your staff are currently age 55 or older. Faculty, it was interesting, and I extended to one digit because the numbers were so close. Among full-time, it's 39%, and among part-time, it's 39% of your faculty who are age 55 and older. So, of your students, now, the reason I have 25 is that we think in terms of 25 and older, and it's not a great term, non-traditional, but that's the number that is defined as a student who is 25 and older is non-traditional. But don't continue to use that term, but just know I'm not talking about the 18 to 22 or 24. So 43% are age 25 and older, with about 2% who are age 55 and older. All right, so now that brings us to what the response has been. And we heard from Eric the beginnings of the Age-Friendly University Global Network with the 10 principles. I came back to our campus after being president of the Academy for Gerontology and Higher Education, having them endorse these principles. And I say, okay, I'm back on my campus. Now what? And my what was to operationalize those principles. So what do those principles mean? How will you know that you've actually achieved them? And that's where I started in 2018 with getting my group together, and we worked with a intergenerational work group, and we came up with we did interviews of all departments. Well, actually, not all departments. Let's see, we did I think 19 different units across our campus, from facilities to career counseling to the provost's office to everything. And we came up with these statements of what would, what's happening there, what would make this what's already in place. And then we created this model. And so you have the model in the handout. On the front page, you have the model that we came up with, which we call the domains of age-inclusive practices. All right? And so this is our framework. This is our research model. But what distinguishes us from going beyond the principles is that we feel the principles are really focused on the student. Our lens is the faculty, staff, and student, and I would extend that even more to the surrounding communities, the outside communities. And so really thinking in a much broader way. So we then created, and it's the Inventory and Campus Climate Survey. And this has been published, but not only has the tool been published, we have this tool available to you for anyone to use on the Gerontological Society of America website, and I'll give that information to you later. Not only do we have the tool, but we actually have the syntax for doing the analysis and the scoring and everything. So it's all there for you should you want to do it. So the inventory identifies the age-friendly practices across those 7 domains. The Campus Climate Survey that we did, which was an electronic survey, assesses the perceptions of those practices by students, faculty, and staff. So it's like the administrator, director saying, we have this on campus, and then you have the population on campus. Is there a match? Do they know that it exists? Do they think it exists and it doesn't exist? Do they think it doesn't exist and it does? So it's like that match. So we, with funding, so we first piloted, and this is where the seed grant from the internally from the dean worked out well. We had a seed grant to first pilot our instrument on our 5-campus system plus medical school at the University of Massachusetts. And then from there, we got funding from RRF, Foundation for Aging, and we did a national survey of 23 campuses who were one of the earliest campuses to be age-friendly university. At that time, I think there were only 30 in the United States, okay? And we had to do this, we had a champion on each campus that got a stipend for data collection. They gave us to get our data. And we also promised them a confidential report, for their campus. So we did 23 40-page reports, just for their campus on the results of their survey. And so we ultimately, we had, we had a pretty good response rate there. And at this point, understanding, as I said, that universities didn't set out to be age inclusive, right? And I'm really big about, you don't evaluate someone on something when their outcomes that was never what they're intended. So in the study, what we wanted to do was to take the pulse. We wanted to benchmark. And so these are the data from the inventory, what the administrators and directors said. And these are based on 23 campuses. And so you could see in our 7 domains where they said they were doing. Not surprisingly, physical environment, because of external, like the Americans for Disability Act, there was an external accountability. So we weren't surprised at all that. But this is where you see that, we're already doing a lot. Now, then the critical thing was the match. So here's what happened with the match. And as you could see, in this case, blue is the faculty. Oh gosh, 5 minutes? All right. Maybe you'll share these slides with people if they want them. But you could just get this thing that the large story is that, no, there wasn't a great cohesion between what they said they had and what the people thought they had. Okay, so several focus groups and a Delphi panel later. And here's our model that you actually have on the handout, just as you see here. We then got another grant to come up with evidence-based strategies. And those evidence-based strategies are what you have on the other side of your handout. Clearly there were 3, and the Delphi panel were all high-level administrators and provosts and presidents and everything. So so the 3 large ones were to raise awareness, inform about age bias, and to do assessment. Assessment is really important. I want to jump because you do have this on your handout. We had looked at 3 of the domains: teaching and learning, student affairs, and personnel. So this is an important slide. The importance of this is that what strategies are going to work on your campus? Well, we had our Delphi panel do two rounds. The second one was we started off with about 1,000 strategies that were recommended through our focus groups and everything else. For the Delphi panel, in the first case, we gave them 53 that were most frequently mentioned among these thousands, and from there they then got to 23 in their final recommendation, and those are 23 strategies that you have on the backside of your handout. But this is what we asked them: is it a priority? Is it impactful? Is it feasible? And how likely are these going to happen? So the idea was not only to be transformative, but to be actionable. So lo and behold, only 4 strategies met all criteria. And none in the area of teaching and learning. Now, that was interesting to us, but what they said, and they're open-ended, was that, that's under the faculty, domain. That's for faculty to work on. That's not part of, our decisions. But I would suggest to you that, yes, administrators have a role in incentivizing faculty to adopt some of these. The four were that they all agreed on, that met all 4 criteria. Bias training, to add implicit age bias sensitivity to the training of search committees, both in hiring, but also in promotion. And in promotion, to provide opportunities for internal candidates to apply for higher level staff positions. We heard from a lot of staff who said, I end up training the people that they hired for my job or job that I know I can do. I end up training those people. So it's like, how do you work with your staff there? Student affairs, to be more flexible in terms of scheduling. Recruitment, this is a biggie, and it's so there for you. And you see my image there is like, I say, start with the low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit. This is something everyone would understand. Look at your marketing materials. What are the images that you see there? Are you only seeing this traditional 18 to 22-year-old? Are you seeing more about, gosh, everything that Eric was talking about, is any of that reflected in the images that, of your campus? Okay, this slide, just from your application for your age-friendly university designation, I saw that, gosh, you're already hitting a lot, and from Eric's remarks earlier, you're hitting, so much more. There's so many examples of what you're doing. Now, the critical thing here is probably the QR code, okay? But this QR code is going to repeat, so let me go to the next one. This is pretty cool. It's brand new. It's a quick start guide. And what is that? What? Sorry. How do we communicate? This is it. So just to give you an example, to talk about instead to try something like instead of like saying, oh, older people can't do technology, try something like, I know some of the older students are not as to not use language like, I know that older students are not computer literate and find digital platform challenging. Use more age-inclusive kind of language that some of thinking about anybody who might need help. And this is great. Instead of saying our programs are designed for recent high school grads ready to start their journey, why don't you try our programs welcome learners at all stages of life and career? And instead of saying, gee, what made you decide to come back to school at your age? Do something like, what inspired you to pursue your education at this time? Just think about, the weight, the importance of language. Instead of your job applications, looking for a cultural fit with a young, dynamic team, or seasoned employees or veteran employees, say all applicants instead of young professionals or early career scholars. Okay, so this is the QR code that I'd like you to try to get to. And all the resources, including our tools and everything, are on this QR code. This is a newsletter that I hope the champions will be very much aware of. This is coming from the Age Inclusivity in Higher Education interest group and work group from the Gerontological Society of America. That's a title of a symposium that I did at GSA last year, Don't Study Us Without Us, and people from disability world would recognize that. Creating age-inclusive strategies in our domains. Okay, this is a project that I'm doing right now, whereas it's a different QR code, but let me tell you just quickly. In the first research I was telling you about strategies that you have there, we looked at 3 of our domains. In this current research, with funding now from Next 50, we are looking at outreach and engagement, services and resources, and physical environment. And we're going to be doing 18 focus groups that are all scheduled in May. We're real good with our faculty. We wanted 144 people. We're doing pretty well. We're really good with our faculty and staff and administrators. We could use a few more students age 25 and older, or if they're interested in participating in these focus groups, and also some community leaders would be, and older adult community members. So if any of that is interesting to you, this is a different QR code that takes you to the link to inquire about that. Okay? And our final takeaway message, age inclusivity becomes lasting when it's embedded, when it's shared, when it's measured, and when it's adaptable. And consider all of this when you're working on your next strategic plan for your campus. Thank you.